to the We Geek Together podcast. My name is Andrew. I'm your host, or Andy, and this is Spencer.
Hey, everybody.
Today we're talking about authors in the dungeon. That's our main topic today. But before we get to that main topic, let's catch up. This is the before round drinks. What's there's a word for it. I forgot.
Yeah, it is.
It's the drinking time. Let's drink.
It's when we drink and we're not talking yet. So
we catch up with each other. What's new with you, Spencer? I saw you Saturday.
Yeah, for the authors in the dungeon.
That was a crazy day.
I'm still recovering.
Yeah, but what's new?
So earlier today, I submitted my application for graduation.
Congrats.
It's kind of a big deal for me. I'm stoked about that.
Application for graduation. That didn't work. That's
It's
fine.
beautiful, actually. In fact, so I'm in music production, so
Okay.
we can record that if you want.
Oh, yeah.
That can be
we'll
our...
We'll songify that.
Yeah.
Boom. That's easy.
So,
All right.
yeah, kind of fun.
Yeah, cool. I am. I'm so fetching busy with this store. I'm always coming up with new ideas. I feel like I had a breakthrough yesterday, but I've been working on the Dead Wars website for ticket registration. Fingers crossed, it'll be out January 31st. Hopefully, if not, the first week of February. So we'll see.
It feels like just about everything the store is doing is Dead Wars related.
Oh boy,
You know what I mean?
I mean, it's a huge thing that's coming up, so we're gonna be talking about that a lot. I hope you don't get tired of hearing about it. That's
Just got to build the hype.
yeah.
But-
Oh yeah, no shame.
But I was thinking about it. I was like, well, after we finish the Dead Wars, like,
What's
we
our
just,
purpose?
we just have to get ready for next year's Dead Wars.
Yeah, this
you know
is
what I mean?
true.
Geek Together just became a Dead Wars store.
It really did. It's gonna take over everything, and I'm way okay with that. So, all right, main topic.
So the authors in the dungeon was
Uh-huh.
Saturday.
Yep.
That was a good event, I thought.
Yeah, it was a good event.
Good. Yeah, I feel like there was a surprising number of people.
Yeah,
That showed
no,
up.
I would say we had over 1,000 people attend.
Wow.
Yeah, a ton of people.
And like maybe I'm just surprised because I wasn't really that involved with the planning. Obviously, it wasn't even really the store's event, right? It
No.
was. Was it a company or was it just Nick and? Was it Nick?
So, Allison Anderson released a book, and it's a fantasy book. And their husband, Eric, he saw our Dead Wars, and he was like, wow, that was a pretty cool event. This tiny game store hosted an event, and 1,000 people showed up. What if we did something like that, but for authors? And we don't want to do your normal author event, because there's many book signing events and panel events, like a writing conference is what it's called. There's a lot of writing conferences around. Let's not do a writing conference. Let's tie it into kind of the nerd culture that's here in Utah, and let's call it Authors in the Dungeon. Let's focus on fantasy authors. Still do book signings and panels, but a highlight is you can play D&D with these authors. And so it was much more leaning into the fantasy nerd side. And yeah, he just came up to me and he was like, I have this idea. And I said, you're crazy. That sounds like a blast. I'll help in any way. And they took that and they took it to the moon. Like,
Yeah.
This is a guy who doesn't do events. They have no experience in this. They just got together some other like-minded people, some people on the committee, who also are either authors or they do writing events or they know authors, or so they made connections with other people, and that whole team drove it forward. So We Geek Together was just mostly the space. I provided the space. I provided the mall. I provided a venue. But other than that, We Geek Together did not do much of the planning at all.
Which is kind of nice. You get to kind of just have the event and get like not like the credit, but like what's the word? Like the marketing
I don't know,
for
benefits?
it. Yeah, exactly.
Like 1,000 people got to walk through my store, and these authors got to come into my store, and I got to meet Christopher Paolini. Everett got his sword signed
That's so
by
cool.
Christopher Paolini.
I didn't realize that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool sword. So we definitely, like, I was super grateful to be part of that project. And yeah, for the amount of work I did, It wasn't a ton of work, but it was a really good event for me.
That's awesome.
Mm.
Well, as a part of not really being a part of the planning
part
for
of
it,
not being part of.
yeah, exactly. I had no idea, and so like the night before, in fact, we had mentioned on the show, I think last week or the week before, that we would stream the event, and I didn't realize that till I was editing.
Just on a whim. Oh
yeah,
no.
and so
you're like, oh shoot.
well, but then we went the day of to start the day before to figure out. We're like, well, if we're gonna do this streaming thing, I guess we should figure out how to stream it, and I didn't realize the work that we would have to put into that.
Oh man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. What did we have to do for the live stream?
So,
we don't live stream, by the way. This is like this was our first time.
We do now. You know what I mean? You and I have ever since then. That's all we've been talking about is how to what kinds of events we can stream and how we can turn this room that we're in into a place where we can stream and do podcasting and do other whatever we need to for this room. And but yeah, at the time we had no idea.
We're virgins.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
We had never done any live stream, and then I was like, "Oh, are we ready to live stream tomorrow?"
and then we just kind of had to sit down and figure it out. But there was a couple of issues that we had to overcome with it. One was that the event, the part of the event that we were live streaming didn't take place in the store.
Yeah, so we had panels, but the panels were in another part of the mall. But we have our internet connection tied to the store, and I can't bring my hub outside the store.
We wouldn't want to either, partially because
the whole store needs it.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want a bunch of people being on it while you're also trying to stream. For those same reasons, we don't want to use the mall's Wi-Fi.
No.
And so we thought, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to solve this? And so
Dom came in clutch.
Dom for some reason, has 400 feet of Cat 6 Ethernet cable at his house.
We were like, well, we need 400 feet of Ethernet cable. And Dom's like, I got
you. And so we didn't end up using 400 feet, but he did have to bring this raw cable in and build the cable morning of.
He built it?
Yeah, did you know that?
I didn't know he built it.
But building, he had the length of cable. He just basically attached the ends to it.
Goodness.
Which was cool of him.
That's so awesome.
And so we ran that. We basically custom measured it from this corner basically out the door, down the hall, down the way, across the thing to the place we were streaming from.
Past Grandma's house.
Yeah,
over the
literally,
river.
literally. And so, and that solved our internet problem. We just plugged straight into it.
Yeah, we were on the laptop, and we had a camera, and you were there during the whole thing, and you were doing overlays. And
oh my goodness,
stuff like that.
And we didn't have any assets. I'm so I'm really self-conscious about this. Because going back and looking at it,
it's so ghetto.
It's it doesn't look great. I don't
jank.
love putting my name on something that turned out like that. But the fact that you literally a half hour before the show started, you emailed me the store's logo and the event's logo.
You're like,
and
I
just
need a logo.
Threw that in.
and then you made everything on the fly.
Yeah, in Photoshop. And in fact, you came up to me partway through. You were like, I'm noticing every panel. Every time there's a new panel, the stream looks a little bit better as we're going.
It's slowly getting upgrades as you're like, this color doesn't work at all. Let me change this color. And
I'm
like,
we should probably have the names of the artists in there. Okay, well, and then I've got to watch and make sure I know what their names are and I'm getting them right and everything. And then I'm like, well, we should, have a little title above to see what the thing is, what they're talking about. Because if you're going to join the stream partway through, it's hard maybe to pick up on the topic. But anyways, just stuff like that for the whole time. It didn't turn out great.
No.
But
it worked.
It did work, and
it was a proof of concept.
And we've been saying on the podcast, and just I don't know, it's kind of a philosophy that I kind of like to live by. Is you just start doing it, and then you'll find out what problems come up from doing it, and then you'll learn how to overcome those problems, and eventually you'll get it figured out. So
you get better every time. Iteration on iteration. So, hey, we had our first one. It's rough, it's ugly, it's glitchy, whatever, but it was live streamed. Honestly, the cool part was in the store, we had our televisions connected to the Wi-Fi, and we were live streaming the panels, and you could see the panels on our televisions. And so that was just such a cool thing to see. Like in the store, I can still watch the panels going on while I'm shopping or waiting for an author to sign my book.
Right.
I could see that.
You don't have to miss out on anything just
Yeah.
because we have it. So many things going on in so many different places.
And so, like, hopefully for the Dead Wars, you know, we'll have live stream. So while you're sitting at your table watching, or while you're sitting at your table playing, you can have somebody on their tablet or phone live streaming the stage. So your table is 100% up to date. Doesn't matter if you're in the corner of the mall. Anyone can see what's going on, which, you know, that's our dream. That's our goal.
Right. So, I don't know. I think that's going to be exciting. But I think if that was the only thing that we talked about authors in a dungeon,
oh, there's so much other
that would
things
be a little bit of a
happened.
disservice to the event.
Yes.
Because it was a really cool event.
It was. So the panels were awesome. The authors really talked about a lot of interesting things, which you can go see the VODs of the streams, by the way. And Eric actually is going to take the video and chop them up and make them look really nice and
Good.
stuff. But they talked about really interesting topics, like what is Christopher Paolini's favorite TTRPG? Or how would you world build a game based off of the fantasy author's knowledge of world building? They had some really cool panels. Unfortunately, I was running the author signing. So I missed out on the panels, unfortunately. But it was really cool to do the signing because not only was I meeting all these authors, but then I was directing the flow of traffic and the people getting signed. Christopher Paolini had a line that was stretched across the entire mall. And he was amazing. He said, I'm going to sign everybody's books. I'm not going to leave. And he sat there for 2+ hours. And people were bringing stacks of books. Like, it wasn't just like one book. Like, they brought their whole inheritance and other books to sign. So they had like 4, 5, 6 books, or I don't know how many books, maybe only 5. But they brought all their books, and he signed every single one of them.
What a guy.
I know. No, and it, like, that line was huge. But we got through it, and all the other authors got books signed. And it was really cool, too, because, like, you had, of course, Christopher Paolini. He's kind of like the headlining author. But every single author, I felt like, benefited from this event. Because, like, no doubt, a lot of people showed up just to get their book signed from them. But then, while you're waiting in line, you're going to see all these other authors' books and stuff like that. So, like, it's just a really cool community building, fantasy building, all these cool authors working together. It was really cool to see. And all the authors mostly knew each other. Because
Really?
I was the one, like, getting them into the store and saying, hey, here's your schedule and stuff. And they were like, oh, yo, Dan, or, oh, hey, Allison, you know. And so, like, they all kind of know each other, which is...
I'm sure it's a community. This certainly can't be the first event that Dan Wells and Christopher Paolini did together, you know what I mean?
guess not.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
You know, movie stars kind of know each other, so it makes sense. Authors kind of know each other. I don't know too many other game owners. I need to change that, you know,
Yeah.
so I can be in my bubble. But, yeah. I don't know. What else stuck out to you from the event? I don't know. You were on stream the whole time. Was there anything else
Yeah.
that was interesting?
I was surprised at all of the other booths that were involved. Like, it was like a proper convention.
Yeah, we had
There.
a ton of merchants.
Lots of merchants who were in just like selling their whatever they had. Lots of... I didn't see a lot of cosplay, but there was some.
Or some.
What was the nonprofit that they were collecting funds for? Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know that was...
Yeah, for the nonprofit,
money.
I'm almost positive it was Teen Author Boot Camp. I didn't know. I had to look it up or ask Everett. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Teen Author Boot Camp, they do a lot of stuff for kids getting books in hands and stuff like that.
Which is cool.
Which is cool.
There was somebody that I knew from my neighborhood who was volunteering with them and came up and said that when she was a kid, that organization helped her get books, and so
wow.
she was glad to be there to help give back. But
That's awesome.
it looked like there was a bunch of events that they were, or a bunch of places that they're trying to go to, like, get books for kids and stuff.
Yeah, they do a lot around in the community, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I really liked the author alley. So of course we had like the main 15 authors we featured in the store, but we had, I want to say, another 15 authors who are very small independent authors.
Wow.
Self-published authors, authors trying to make their own name get out into the world. And there's 15, so you could meet them at their own booths, and they were selling their own books and their own wares. And it was really cool. I was talking to one of them, and he gave me a book, actually. It's read it. It says, "I'm sorry, here's a plasma rifle," is the name of the book. And
Huh.
it seems like a really funny book. But he was telling me, I made more sales at this event than I did at FanX.
Wow.
So he had a booth at FanX, which costs you anywhere between $500 to $2,000. I mean, up to $10,000 actually. But
Depending
for an
on the booth
author,
size or whatever.
depending on the booth size, he's probably in the artist alley, so he probably has a table. So it's probably $300 to $600. And at this event, I'm pretty sure the authors were able to get their tables for $50, maybe $100. I think is what they were. It was about $100 for the authors. So he did more sales here than he did at FanX, which was really cool to see. Like, that's what the community of nerds was here for. They were here for authors,
Right.
you know. And so
How cool.
even really tiny authors had a good event here.
That's good.
So that was awesome to see. Yeah, the vendors were awesome. It did really feel like our own mini convention here
Yeah.
in the mall. And I think it really shows that the mall or malls can be actually a pretty decent spot for doing an event like this, because we had the food court going and people were getting food. You have normal public services. Our store was kind of like a central hub for people to come in and out. We had registration tables for people to pick up their VIP stuff. We had a separate gaming room that was for the Dungeon Master VIP experience. We had a green room for the authors to chill out. So like a mall, turn it into an event center for these special events is really cheap too. I think somebody was telling me Dragonsteel spent $500,000 for that convention that we did.
Holy cow.
$500,000, $500,000 for that Dragonsteel event, and that was maybe a third of the size of FanX.
Yeah, it's just like a fraction of the event center.
Yeah, a third, and so they had to spend $500,000. We had to spend $1,000 for the
Wow.
mall.
Would you say that Dragonsteel, not including the like the play space, but just like the vendor floor, would you say was 3 times the size of the mall, 4 times the size of the mall?
Yeah, maybe 4 times the size.
It's hard to say, just like estimating in your head, but like,
Yeah.
but definitely not. You know, the mall wasn't a quarter
40
of the
times.
price.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't 50 times.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
500 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like $1,000 for the space we had. We pulled in over 1,000 people. Like that's pretty darn good.
That's cool.
Uh-huh.
And malls also just like naturally have, like you were saying, places that are really good
Built-in
for
stuff.
having people. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I've heard people talk about shopping malls and how it's kind of a shame they're all shutting down because no one wants to go. But maybe we just need to repurpose them a little bit.
I think we're going to be on the cutting edge of like revitalizing malls into a much more culture nerd centric area. Maybe not nerd, but like cultural hub. Get rid of all the big brand businesses because you can buy their stuff online. They made it very easy to buy their stuff online. Instead, turn it into a third space, an event center, a place where you can only find really niche things. Then I have a reason to go to the mall because I want to get out of the house. I want to be able to be somewhere for a third space, and I want to be able to be in a community, whatever my niche is, be it 3D printed Nerf guns, be it that's one of the malls.
That is a niche. I didn't realize that.
That's one of the stores here. 3D printed Nerf blasters. An artist who does their own art there. Somebody who does leatherworking. You know, a tavern game store. Get niche down, and I think malls would be seeing a renaissance, if you will.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
What else about authors in the dungeon? Anything that you found particularly?
I just had a blast.
I thought it was great.
It was work for sure.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was a lot of work, like getting the authors in, making sure things were going well, getting VIPs around, making sure they got to their games. But yeah, like overall, I had a really good time. Like it had a good energy. I felt like the committee, the people who planned it, did a really good job. The way I said it is everything that they knew of, everything that they thought of, they did it well. Obviously, there were some little hiccups here and there that didn't really work out. One of the things that I think needs to improve on is they had the VIP gaming room where they had all these authors playing D&D with people. But the room wasn't sound treated at all. It was almost like a indoor gym, like wood floors and hard walls and hard ceiling.
Where was that?
It was down in the reserve where we held our masquerade.
Okay.
And it's just an echo chamber.
It's
and
really
so,
hard to hear.
So everybody who was playing games was like yelling. And then everybody's yelling. And even though the room only had maybe 30 people in, it was really loud in there.
Interesting.
And so, like, you know, that's a sore point because people spent money to play games with these authors. And these are big-time authors. But, like, there's no way we would have known that room was such an echo chamber. We you know, I guess I could have paid attention to it during the masquerade, but I thought we had over 100 people in that room. That makes sense. There's going to be an echo chamber with 100 people, but with only 30 people, it was just as loud. So we learned. Oh, okay. And so they want to do it again. They loved Authors in the Dungeon. They want to do it again. The committee was super psyched about it, how well it was received. They want to do it again. So there's some things that they can improve on. Our live stream will be hopefully a lot better in a year.
Hopefully.
Yeah. But overall, yeah, I would say it was a home run. So let's say I'm Joe Schmo, and I want to host my own event. I want to do something and bring it out into the world, and I want people to show up. Okay, that's exactly what the Andersons did with this event. That's exactly what I did with Dead Wars. And so now I've seen two brand new people who don't know anything try to host events. I definitely have opinions on how to kind of get the word out, because that's honestly the hardest part. How do you get people to show up? So first off, you got to have a fun idea, right? Whatever your idea is, be it a book club or a game club or a LAN party. Somebody told me they wanted to hold like an old school LAN party. You know, you go over to your friend's house and play Halo, but it's like 1,000 people. Like everybody comes and they all bring their Xboxes and TVs and everybody's playing Halo, and then you just stay up all night.
That'd be crazy.
And I'm like, that sounds insane. I don't know if I could do that, but
we could host it.
That sounds really fun. That sounds really fun, honestly. And I think some people would love to like do a Halo LAN party. But anyway, so whatever idea you have, you know, obviously you want to have it fun, and your motivation should not be money. Your motivation should not be money. For the Dead Wars, we did not crack profit. We didn't even fully break even. I know for Authors in the Dungeon, it was a free event. And most everybody who came was free. The VIP tickets were charged, and they made a little bit of money on merch. But I know they didn't make money. With the amount of work that had to be made, with all the hours the committee had to work, and with paying even for the venue, even though it was dirt cheap, $1,000 to host an event, I know they didn't make a ton of money. Definitely not something that they could be like, oh yeah, now we're set, now we're rolling in it. No, definitely not. They did not make money. And so don't do it for money. Have a passion for whatever you're doing. Have it be very interesting. And then it's really tapping into the already surrounding communities that like that idea. So if I wanted to do a Halo LAN party, I should be going to maybe like college clubs that are already playing video games, or talk to streamers in my state to see if they want to be a part of it. Try to tap into people who are already in that space. Authors in the Dungeon did such a good job. Not only did they nail Christopher Paolini, which is like a A-lister in the space. But they also worked with Dragonsteel, Brandon Sanderson, who's an S tier author in the space. And Brandon Sanderson posted a YouTube video and some social media links about this event. Um, and they were able to get help from Dragonsteel, their company. And that's huge. That definitely boosted the marketing for the event. They used my store as a venue, and so I advertised that event. And I'm not huge by any means, but I do have a following on my Instagram and TikTok, so I was able to bring my following to the event as well. And so those are some things there. You tap into people who are already there, who already have those communities. See if you can get them there, and don't charge them. Again, you're not trying to make money for the event. You're trying to build the name, the credibility, the excitement around the event, and the more barriers you put into place make it tougher, right? Like if Authors in the Dungeon charged, if there was like a $20 ticket fee, I think we would have seen maybe 10% of the attendees. Even with something like 20%. And I think maybe even for Dead Wars, because it's such a risk going to a new event. Like, who knows if it's going to actually be any good?
Right.
Why would I drop $25 for an event that might be a total wash? You know, and there's some horror stories of conventions that it was their first convention and it was the worst thing ever. DashCon, I think, was an absolute train wreck. And so it's not easy.
So then if you're saying that you shouldn't charge for the event,
Yep.
but that they're very expensive, how do you go about getting the money for it? Because I'm going to assume that it's a possible thing because, like you said, you're just an average Joe. The Andersons are just average Joes.
And we all did it.
And yeah, we can pull it off that way. So where'd you get the funds from?
Great question. At Authors in the Dungeon, there was a lot of merchants selling items. They had to pay to be there. They had to pay $100 to $200. They also landed a few big time sponsors. I know Dragonsteel donated over $1,000 for this event. And I know they secured another big time sponsor. I think it was Teen Author Bootcamp also donated over. I can't remember who, but they donated. I know another company donated over $1,000. So you got a few hundred from all of your small time business owners. You got a few thousand from some pretty big sponsors. That's how you can bankroll this thing. And same thing for the Dead Wars. Dragonsteel was also very nice. They gave us $1,000. And we brought in 12 other vendors, and we charged them. I want to say we charged $400 or $500 per spot.
Wow.
For that. Now the idea is they're a small business, but they're going to make double to triple their sales at that event. So I know, like, hey, if I make leather armor, like, I'm looking for events like that, like Authors in the Dungeon. For Andy, even a year ago, is an event I would have signed my business up for. I would have been like, yeah, I'll give you $100 because when I go to this event, I'm going to pull out $500. So it's worth it for me.
Sure.
And the authors had to pay. So they pulled in 15 authors and they paid $100 each, and they pulled in 20 vendors and each vendor paid $20 each and stuff like that. And then they pulled in these big sponsors, and so that helped bankroll it. Obviously, you have to cut every corner. You have to do it super guerrilla style. You have to try to save every penny you can. The mall had some tables free to use, and instead of paying for a moving team, Eric set up the chairs himself. The guy who was in charge of the event got here really early, and he set up the chairs himself. He set up the sound system himself. For the Dead Wars, I set up all the tables and chairs myself, and I took all the tables and chairs down myself. Like, any little thing you can save money on, you have to do that because you're working with a shoestring budget. So that's how you do it. Also, if you have a small business, for us, we had our game store, so we were able to save up some money from the earnings of the game store to put on that event. And so if if you are a small business, you're kind of at a better spot to start an event. I know the Andersons don't have their own small business, so but they still made it work. So it's possible.
Well, cool.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, absolutely. Even just being a small part of it like me, it felt like a lot of work for just a little thing.
A lot of work went into it, but it turned out great.
It did.
Good for them. I'm really happy. This is our last call. This is where we talk about where you can find us as well as what's going on. Yeah, we've got Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and this podcast. Thank you for watching. All under We Geek Together. And boy, do we have some exciting stuff coming up. Like we hinted at the beginning, we're going to be hitting the live streams pretty hard on the next bit, and it will be streaming to YouTube and Twitch and TikTok and maybe even Instagram. We'll see, but we're working on that, and that will be awesome to watch us. So stay tuned. More coming. Thank you, Spencer. You're an awesome buddy.
Absolutely. It's been a fun, basically, year. Like was the first thing I did with you the Dead Wars for the store?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just about coming up on a year that we've been working together.
Time flies.
It does.
It's only been a year. Dead Wars is coming up fast, man. It's stressing me out.
I'm stoked about it though. Like I think the media empire, if you will, that we're putting together is going to be big.
Many ideas. All right. Have a good night.